Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and today we're going to be looking at the Skoda Scala. We're going to take it for a test drive. We're going to look at the exterior, the interior features, simply clever features, everything you need to know about the car. So let's get right into it. The starting price of the Skoda Scala is going to be 23,790 euros, just a small increase from the previous version. This car, the way it's standing here, around 40,000 euros. That's due to the fact that we have it in the Monte Carlo variant. That's going to start at 30,000 euros. And then we also have the biggest engine with an automatic gearbox. You have four different variants you can get. You have the Essence, the Selection, the Tour and the Monte Carlo being the most sporty one. One thing that is pretty nice now is also the first time in a Skoda Scala you can get matrix LED lights or the Skoda crystal lighting, that's what they're called, which basically means oncoming traffic is going to be blended out while illuminating still with high beams the other part that is not oncoming traffic. That is going to start out with the Tour variant. We're going to get that standard-wise, otherwise you can also equip it. Down here a little bit of air curtains to just get the airflow moving past the wheels. And in my opinion a very, very sporty looking front, and I absolutely love this combination of the color and also black touches. The color is the velvet red color for 609 euros extra, and I think it just looks fantastic from the front. One of my favorite designs here from Skoda. Let's also take a look under the hood where we can look at all the different engine variants. You cannot get a diesel or a hybrid variant, you can only get the petrol engine, which is going to be two different ones. So you can get a 1-liter 3-cylinder engine, which is going to produce 95 horsepower with 150 Newton meters. That is going to be a 5-speed manual gearbox. Then you can get also that engine with a 7-speed or a 6-speed manual gearbox, and also the 7-speed is an automatic gearbox, which is going to produce 115 horsepower and 200 Newton meters. And then you can also get the most powerful one, which is the 1.5-liter TSI in either a 6-speed manual gearbox or a 7-speed DSG gearbox, which we have standing here. That's going to produce 150 horsepower and 250 Newton meters. Our variant with the automatic gearbox going to get you from 0 to 100 in 8.2 seconds and also top speed of 221 kilometers an hour. What are also the main rivals? Well, you have a Volkswagen Golf, a Kia Ceed and also a Hyundai i30. Those are some of the main rivals. If you want to spec out those in the most sporty looking variant and with a similar kind of engine, then you're going to be looking at cars. If you want to, for instance, get a 1.5 liter in the Golf, you can get the R-Line with the most sporty looking. That's going to be around 39,000 euros with the automatic gearbox. Kia Ceed around 32,000 euros, but you will also only get 140 horsepower with all the new laws they have in there, and that's also going to be the GT line. And then the Hyundai i30 in the N line around 34,000 euros with also the same engine that the Kia Ceed offers with 140 horsepower and a DCT gearbox. Let's also look at the side of this car. The car is going to be 4 meters and 36 of length. It's going to be 1 meter and 79 wide without the side mirrors extended, which are also automatically foldable, 1 meter and 51 of height, and also 2 meters 63.6 of wheelbase. When it comes to the rims, you can choose with the standard variant 16 inches and you can go up all the way up to 18 inches in the Monte Carlo or also in the Tour variant. We have the 16-inch rims on here because winter tires, but we got these full black ones, so they're actually quite fitting towards the design of this red. I kind of like those. We have the Monte Carlo up here. We have this little bit of a black side skirt on the bottom and a rear blacked out window with also a panoramic window up top, which you cannot open. One thing that's also pretty cool, you can opt for these as an extra. You can see as I go out, we have this like safety thing on here, so you're not going to knock on anybody else's car, and if I go in, they're going to close. First thing I was like, okay, what if I really close the car really quickly? It's still going to go in, but the question is, how long is this going to hold the mechanism? If you've had this kind of mechanism for a longer time, let me know in the comments if you've had any issue with that. And you also get them on the rear. There you go, so you can have them on there. Fuel tank is going to be on the other side, 50 liters of fuel capacity. Claimed WLTP is around 5.5 liters. In the on country roads 4.9, on the Autobahn 5.5, and in the city 7.1 liters. And on the rear we have a little bit of a different design, this kind of all black design which goes fairly far down, making the rear window actually look humongous. But the rear window obviously only goes up to here. Skoda also in full black, and then the Scala down here. I kind of do like this design, but I really do like the front a lot more than the back. When it comes to the trunk, it is also electrical if you opt for it. And in here we also have a false floor, so you can also do this and have a little bit more storage space if you want to completely take all of those out, or just have a nice even row. You can flip over the seats with a 60/40 variant, and that's going to be, well, standard-wise 467 liters, the way it's standing here, and also 1,410 liters. If you want all the dimensions, it's going to be down in the comments or in the description. If you opt for the tow bar, which we actually have in here, so you can press that, and it's going to come out, and then you just need to plop it in. That's going to allow you to up to 1,250 kilograms, and on here you're also going to be able to put 75 kilograms of a load. Let's take a look at the back row, and well, you got quite a good amount of space here. Knee room is quite plenty. Leg room is a little bit hindered. If you put the seat up a little bit higher, obviously it's going to be a little bit better. But headroom is also quite plenty. I have around this much space. I'm 1.80 m tall, 5'11", and the seat in front of me is adjusted to that as well. Otherwise, seating position here is comfortable. I like these seats. They also feel fairly decent. You have another simply clever feature in here. So this middle console you can take out, and now somebody in the middle can have a little bit more of a comfortable seating position, or you can put it back in to store something down there. You get heated seats in the back, as well as a climatization control without your own climate, and two USB-Cs all the way on the bottom. You get a little bit of pockets in the seat in front of you, with also this small one where you can put like your phone or something in there. You also have an armrest, which you can pop down with two cup holders, and we have no center tunnel. Like I already mentioned, it's a 60-40 split. Otherwise, there's panoramic window, which you also get with the Monte Carlo edition, and it's just very nice to look out. And it goes fairly back. It goes back fairly far. There we go. Side quality is also okay. Door handle is obviously has this nice design. The door handles, however, where your grabbing handles are out of plastic, and then you have this fake carbon touch on the top, which is like soft material, which feels fairly decent. Otherwise, most hard plastic everywhere you basically touch there. So join me in the inside of the Skoda Scala, and you can see we have a little bit of a different layout here, a little bit more sporty looking with all these red touches. Again, fits very nicely to the outside. There's like fake carbon touch here, which is, you can hear, moves a little bit, but still looks fairly decent in my opinion. We also have this like little bit of dot design in there, and a little bit of a softer material up here with a little of piano black all the way up here, and piano black down here as well. Door handles, just like in the back, we have the typical like Skoda door handles, and the same touches down here when it comes to the fake kind of carbon touch, which is all soft material. Down there we also have the sound system, which is an extra you can get, which is called the Skoda sound system. And otherwise we have the typical Skoda kind of layout here on the steering wheel, a little bit of a wider one with also physical buttons in there, and these scroll bars, which I always like, or scroll wheels. Skoda logo, Monte Carlo, just to indicate you're driving that as well. Automatic gearbox, like I already mentioned, on the outside. You can get it with a 4-cylinder or also with a 3-cylinder, with a more powerful 3-cylinder. Otherwise, you cannot get a heads-up display or anything like that. But let's start up the car with keyless go. So we're going to press on that just to get it going here. And then we're also going to start up in a second. We get a digital cockpit in here. That's also an extra you can get with a full digital one, with a little bit of analog displays here on the side for your fuel tank and also your oil temperature. Otherwise, you can go through here and change a little bit of the views. If you go on the right, you can see we have a couple of different views in here, which you can customize a little bit, and then you can also change what you see in the inside, so navigation, audio, mobile phone, stuff like that. I usually like to keep it on navigation. And infotainment display is fairly easy to use, in my opinion, very easy to use. You have the menus up here, and then you have icons for everything that you want to choose. So it is very easy to use. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto Wireless via SmartLink. So if you press on that, you can have Apple CarPlay, like I already said there, without having to put it in. Navigation also, well, typical like Volkswagen navigation, is a little bit slower, but it does work and it does its job. But usually I just plug in Apple CarPlay and then have Google Maps, which I kind of like more. But otherwise, very easy and intuitive infotainment display to use. Let's now also start up the car, look at the rear view camera. There's that 4-cylinder coming to life. If we go into the rear view, we can see we have a rear view camera with trajectory lines and also an okay quality. You can change between a couple of things that you can open, or you can put up the brightness and stuff like that. And you also have parking function here, so that looks pretty cool, and trailer assist as well. But let's now drive the car, go into D, and we also have a manual handbrake, which is always pretty cool to have, to do some drifting here in the snow. And what I really like about this 4-cylinder, it is very smooth. It's not loud. Even at a higher load, it is not too loud and excessive. It is a fairly comfortable ride. I did read if you get the 3-cylinder, it's going to be a little bit more of an uneasy ride, a little bit louder. So if you want a little bit more comfort, I think the 4-cylinder is the way to go. What kind of makes this car very comfortable is that we also have the DCC chassis control in here, which allows us to also choose between different modes. So we have Eco, Normal, Sport, and Individual. If you go into Individual and put it into Change, we can see steering. We can change that to, for instance, a sporty feeling. We have a Sport Select suspension. We can also put that into Sport. That is basically in, if we go in here into the Sport mode, we can see everything is in Sport apart from the air conditioning, because you can put that on Eco theoretically if you want. In Sport mode, you will notice the engine is going to be a little bit at higher RPMs. It feels a little bit more punchy because it's just stuck at higher RPMs. Gear shifts are done later. You can also do manual gear shifts with the button up here. So if I, for instance, shift up, you can do that. It takes a little bit, but it's your normal DSG gearbox. You can also down here go into Sport. In the gearbox, you can put into D or Sport. Again, just a little bit more responsiveness from that gearbox, and a little bit higher RPMs and lower RPMs, later shifts, and also earlier shifts down. Otherwise, it is very comfortable to drive. The suspension feels fairly decent. Let's also go back into the normal mode, just so we can have a little bit of, well, not high RPMs constantly. Suspension does a nice job. You will definitely notice that this car is not more of a sportier feeling car. If you want to get a Golf, it's going to feel a little bit more sporty. In here you get a little bit of more body lean that you will notice, but still I think a very good drive experience. And if you want to drive a little bit more dynamic through a couple of corners, you can definitely do that. But in a Golf or an i30, you will get a little bit more of a sportier feeling. When it comes to the surrounding view of this car, it's also fairly decent. The rear window is quite big. I have the headrest up there right now, so that side is not the nicest to see out. But otherwise, you also have on the seat pillar there, you get a little bit of a window. So in my opinion, quite decent surrounding view. A-pillar is a little bit more intrusive with a little bit of a frame there on the right side. That's about it. Like I said, you cannot get a heads-up display. You do have quite a lot of safety features in here if you do opt for them. Lane centralization, lane keeping assist, blind spot assistant. You also get that rear view camera. We in here also get our assistant button, so lane assist, speed warning assist, side assist, rear traffic assist, front assist, stuff like that. If you want to turn off that EU warning assistance quite quickly, you just press on the assistant once and then you scroll down to speed warning and turn it off. You have heated steering wheel with 3 different settings in here, and you also have heated seats with 2 settings in here. You can choose those, as well as in the back, like I already said. We do also have an inductive loading space in here, which for my phone does not work at all. It's an iPhone 15 Pro, but that does not work. But I do like that's kind of like this end carving, so you can put it in there and also have like a handle down there, so you can easily pick it out. But otherwise, this car is really comfortable to drive. In the city, I have been, well, having a nice experience with it. The 4-cylinder really does do a good job. The DSG gearbox is also comfortable to drive, and if you just want that comfortability of an automatic gearbox, especially for the city, I think this is a good option to go for. Otherwise, let's also take a look at the fuel consumption. Like I said, combined is a 5.6. I said 5.5 on the outside. 5.6 is the consumption. In the city, 7.1. I've mainly been driving this car in the city, so the consumption is not probably going to be the lowest. Let's actually look at it, because I haven't looked at it, what our consumption is. So since I reset it, or since the last time I fueled the car, that's around 53 kilometers ago, we had an average of 7.9 liters. Like I said, around 90% of those were in the city, and 7.1 is claimed in the city, 7.9, that is what I achieved. If you look at since starting, which was not just now country roads, 7.2, I think they had claims 4.9, but we did do a little bit more sportier. But if you do drive it on the Autobahn and cruise at like 120, you will get a fairly decent consumption. 5.2, yeah, if you constantly drive in eco mode, then you might be able to do that, but otherwise I think around a 6 liter is what you're going to be looking at. And that is where it also comes in. A diesel maybe would have been nice, but just like for instance Kia and Hyundai, they don't offer those variants as well anymore. For the Kia Ceed, the diesel went away, the plug-in hybrid went away. You cannot get a hybrid version anymore, so just a petrol. So even with competitors, this well, it would have been an edge if they would have still offered a diesel, but with all the EU laws, it's kind of hard nowadays, I guess. And now driving here in the city on a little bit more of a bumpier road, again, a very nice and subtle suspension, which does a good job. Even though we do have the sport suspension here, which theoretically should give you a little bit more of a sportier and harder suspension, I think it still does a very good job of smoothing everything out. And what I also noticed is that the outside noise is actually very decent. Even driving at the Autobahn at like 120, it still does a really good job. Wind noise is basically non-existent, and it's really comfortable in general just to drive this car around. So what is my final verdict on the Skoda Scala? Well, I actually really like this car. It has a really nice design. It is very easy to use on the inside with the infotainment system and stuff like that. It is going to be a little bit more pricey if you go for the Monte Carlo edition and the top, well, 1.5 liter TSI. Do you really need that engine? I don't think you need it too much. It's already quite powerful with this. It's going to be a little bit more quieter with the 4-cylinder, the 3-cylinder a little bit more rugged. But in general, it's a great car. Got a lot of space in the inside. It's comfortable to drive. You can even drive it a little bit more sporty, not as sporty as compared to some other variants like a Golf. But in my opinion, it's a great all-rounder. What do you think of this car? Let me know in the comments and follow for more. Subscribe for more.